If I had to narrow it down to just one habit that keeps people from ever building wealth, it's this: living at or above your income instead of below it. If you're new to my channel, hello and welcome. I'm Sarah Edens. I make new videos every week about wealth mindset and finance tips. So please go ahead and subscribe. And to all my current subscribers, welcome back. It's so nice to see you. So what really happens with this habit of living at or above your means is that it robs you of any surplus income that you can put towards savings or investing. And then that in turn robs you from the ability to take advantage of something called compound interest, which is how our money grows in our investments over time, over decades and decades. And so the thing is, like, you can continue to make more and more money and have a higher and higher salary. And this happens to so many people where they're wealthy, but they're still broke. And I've done a whole video on this that I'll put up on screen and link to in the description as well if you want to watch it later. But it's really, really important to remember that a high income does not mean that you're wealthy. A high income might mean that you're just spending everything on a very expensive house and cars and vacations and eating out. Or it might mean that you're borrowing a lot of money as well, and then you're dealing with a lot of debt payments. It doesn't mean you're building long-term wealth. So for people who are in the know, the only way you can build long-term wealth is by not spending all your money and then taking that surplus and putting it to work with the power of compound interest. So let's walk through this a little bit more step by step if this is new for you. Lifestyle creep is quite simply the silent killer of wealth, if I had to put it in a nutshell. Number one thing to keep in mind with lifestyle creep is that, like we said, every time that income goes up, there's that temptation to go ahead and spend it all because you see more money coming in. Our brains are very much wired to associate spending with a dopamine hit. And so then we're like, oh, well, I have this money, I can go out and spend it. So it's a lot about cognitive rewiring to think about saving and investing as being more rewarding than buying. I have a video about this I've done as well. I'll put up on screen and link to in the description if you're interested in more on that. Second thing to think about is then, of course, there is no surplus to invest because you can't build wealth if you don't ever invest and you don't ever put any money into your 401k, into your IRA, into your brokerage accounts. With inflation these days, it's been a little bit hard on savers because a lot of savings accounts don't really offer particularly good interest right now. And so you're not necessarily making a lot of money off your savings. It's definitely challenging. I mean, if you look around, there's opportunities for high yield savings accounts, but even they have come down just in the last probably 18 months. Mine have come down from probably a 5% rate of returns. I think I'm at 4% rate of return now, which doesn't sound like a lot. But when you have a lot in those accounts, it turns into a lot that you're not getting back in interest every month. So I'd say especially it's challenging with inflation and how we're dealing with increased cost of living. Third thing then is that debt becomes normalized. So if you don't have any surplus, you're spending all your money, and we live in a culture that makes debt very acceptable, very easy to get access to. Obviously, interest rates have gone up a lot, which has been doing not great things to the housing market as people have not wanted to take out mortgages at the high interest rates that mortgages are at right now. But debt just becomes normalized. And so then it's easy if you're spending all your paycheck and you're not worried about having any surplus that you can save and invest. Then it's easy to say, oh, well, I can afford the monthly payments on that car loan, or we could afford the monthly payments on that house, and be able to justify then why you are spending everything and then some, and then taking on all this mountain of debt as well. Fourth thing to keep in mind then is, of course, with all this compound interest, if you start having debt, compound interest works against you instead of for you. So if you're an investor, compound interest is working for you because the annualized rate of return off the stock market after inflation, if you're just buying S&P 500 indexed ETFs, is about 6 to 7% rate of return every single year on your money. Now, if you have debt, you're having that compound interest suddenly work against you on the other side of the equation because the banks are making compound interest off of all this money that you owe. So you're paying interest on your mortgage. You're paying interest on those car loans. If you're carrying credit card balances, you're paying sometimes 22% or more in interest on your credit card balances. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I've certainly noticed over the years that the banks and the credit card companies are making quite a bit more off of their compound interest, game than I'm making off of my investments, because to be able to make 22% rate of return with your investments is like amazing. I mean, you're talking like hedge fund level skills there versus over at the credit card companies where, your average APR on credit cards right now is about 22 to 23% APR. It's wild. And so you just want to not put yourself in that place where someone's making money off of you because you've got the debt. You want to be making money by investing in the companies. The fifth thing then is that you stay stuck in a cycle of earn, spend, repeat. Earn, spend, repeat. This is not the cycle that you want to get stuck in, but it's very common to do, and it's easy. And if you're not mindful, it just happens, because investing is a skill set. Even saving is a skill set. Spending does not take a lot of skills to go out and spend your money. And with this consumer-focused culture in which we live these days, you're being bombarded with, buy, and ads and sales and, all these things. You get this terrible FOMO every time you see, a sale come across through your inbox. And so it's really important to just, as much as possible, be aware if you're finding, that this is all resonating with you, be aware that you're even in that pattern. And this isn't a judgment on anyone who might be in this pattern right now. I've spent decades in this pattern myself without realizing it. But just really important to realize that if you can live at or below, preferably, like we said, below, if you can live below your means and have that surplus to invest, rather than living at or above and then ending up spending everything plus or minus also getting into debt, you're just going to do yourself a huge favor in the long run. So let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear from you as always. And thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, I wish you abundant wealth, and I will see you again soon.